Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to jump into some really powerful verses from the Quran, specifically from Surah An-Nahl, which means the bee. We're going to unpack a passage that deals with these huge, timeless questions of belief, denial, accountability, and where we can actually find signs of the divine. So let's get right into it. All right, so let's kick things off with a question that's just huge, right? It's something this passage really gets into. Why would someone see something absolutely incredible, maybe even a miracle, and just say no? The text offers a fascinating perspective, and it suggests the answer has less to do with our eyes and more to do with our hearts. Now, this is where it gets interesting. The passage doesn't start where you'd expect, like at the beginning of a story. Nope. It throws us right into the deep end, the final act, you could say. We're talking about the day of reckoning, that moment of ultimate, inescapable accountability. And, I mean, just try to picture this for a second. On that final day, the people who set up partners alongside God, they're called out in front of everyone. And they're hit with this one powerful, piercing question designed to expose just how hollow all their worldly allegiances really were. Okay, so to really get what's going on here, we need to know this one crucial term, shirk. Now, shirk is the act of associating partners with God, and in these verses, it's the central charge. It's the whole reason for this confrontation. So what's the big idea here? It's this. Everything we lean on in this life, our status, our connections, our big ideas, it's all temporary. The passage is basically saying that when you're standing there, faced with ultimate divine accountability, all of that just dissolves. It crumbles to dust. All right, so we've seen the end game, right? But the question is, how did they get there? The next part of this passage really dives deep, almost like a psychological profile, into the concept of denial. It explores why, for some people, even the clearest evidence just isn't enough. And check out this quote. This is what the disbelievers are saying to others. Just follow us and we will carry your sins. I mean, wow. Think about that for a second. It's this incredible, arrogant promise to basically take on someone else's spiritual debt. It's a way of saying, hey, your choices don't really matter. We got this. But the Quran comes back with a hard no to that idea. It lays down a core, non-negotiable principle. On that day of reckoning, you stand alone. Your deeds are your own. The message is crystal clear. You can't just hand off your responsibility to someone else. And this right here, this really gets to the heart of what the passage is saying about denial. You see this pattern. The people are demanding more and more proof, right? Show us a book we can touch. Bring down an angel. But the text's response is so profound. It says, look, it wouldn't matter. If your heart is closed off, even a miracle would be dismissed as obvious magic. So the problem isn't a lack of proof, it's the disposition of the heart. So after digging into why people might reject signs, the passage does a complete 180. It asks us to consider a different idea. What if the most powerful signs aren't some flashy miracle, but are actually all around us, hidden in plain sight? And where does it start? With the most universal sign of all, our own lives, the human life cycle. I mean, think about it. From basically dust to a tiny drop, through all the stages until we're brought forth as a child, growing up, reaching our peak, and then the journey towards old age and death. This entire process, which every single one of us is part of, is presented as this undeniable, continuous sign of a creator's power. And this is where the passage just gets so beautiful. It draws this amazing parallel. It says, look at the human life cycle, and now look at the earth. Think about barren, dead-looking land that gets hit by rain and suddenly explodes with life. The text is saying these are parallel signs. Just as God can bring life from barren earth, he has the power to create and, most importantly, to resurrect. Nature's comeback story is a sign of our own. So, we've talked about accountability, we've talked about signs in nature, but what's the point of it all? Where does it lead us? Well, it all builds up to a really powerful moral lesson, a call for consistency and gratitude in how we live our lives. And it points out this paradox in human behavior that is just so relatable. You know how it is. When we're in real trouble, facing some hardship, what do? We cry out to God for help, and we're totally sincere. But then, the harm is removed, the danger passes, and what happens? It's so easy to forget. It's easy to get complacent. And the passage says some people go right back to their old ways, completely forgetting who they turn to in their moment of need. Okay, so let's boil all this down. What are the big takeaways from these verses? First, accountability is personal and it's absolute. No one can carry your burdens for you. Second, the state of your heart. Your openness to truth is just as important, if not more so, than any physical proof. Third, the world around us, the cycles of nature, are filled with signs of divine power and hope. And finally, the ultimate goal is to maintain that sense of gratitude, not just when things are tough, but when they're good too. So we'll end with this thought. If these signs of the divine are really woven into the fabric of life itself, into our own bodies and the world we walk through every day, what is it then? What's the key that actually unlocks our ability to see them?